Hello, fellow fans. I'm Mark, and now with me is my co-host, the Spider Don't Turn Off the Dark, Bryan. What up, Bryan?
I'm scared of the dark.
On last episode, Bryan and we talked about Disney's live-action films and we ranked them, but that was just before we had seen The Little Mermaid. Bryan, did it make your Rushmore of live-action Disney?
No, it did not approach the top four for me personally.
It is in my top 5, so
I thought it might be.
yeah, scuttlebutt. Anyways, on this very special episode, Bryan and I will be reviewing Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse as United We Fan starts now.
The truth is, I am Iron Man.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
What is going on? What are you doing?
To infinity and beyond!
This is the way.
The flux capacitor.
Is Star Wars the one with the little wizard boy?
Chewie, we're home.
Avengers!
Assemble.
Oh, chills. Literal chills.
Hello, fellow fans. Thank you all for uniting with us as we talk about all things fandom. Please give us a rate or review wherever you listen so we can unite with more fans out there. And I'm just going to tease you with something. We have some exciting news that will help us unite with more fans out there. But that's all I'm going to leave you with is a nice little teaser there. Bryan, we re-entered the Spiderverse. For all of you listeners, if you haven't heard our episode, Bryan and I just showed how much we loved the first one, present tense, love the first one. So, oh my gosh, Bryan, this was a long time coming. So I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, the first one, I loved it. It was a Christmas release. It was nice to be able to do that. I remember seeing a sneak peek of it like 10 days before it came out, and I was like mildly obsessed, but I still couldn't process what we had just seen. We since have done many podcasts where I have comfortably called that my favorite animated film of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And spoiler alert, I don't know if Across the Spider-Verse is as good as the first one, but I'm not sure it's not.
Well, maybe talking about it will help you decide as we get through your emotions. But fans, fear not. The short review, we will give you a long and short of what we thought of it. The short is going to be non-spoiler. So friends, you are welcome to hang out with us and we will give you plenty of warning and notice when the spoilers, well, they're going to be coming when we get to the long. So Bryan, without further ado, ding, ding, let's get to the short, spoiler-free review of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
It takes its sweet, precious time world building. It takes a little time to get going. I think this movie was really feeling itself for the first half an hour, but it was so dang gorgeous to look at that I just didn't care. And once the story gets going, it tells an incredible story, an amazing story, pun intended. I suppose I should have said that. It's everything I wanted this film to be. I loved it tremendously. I cannot wait to see it again.
My quick, off the cuff, like movie poster reviews would be, this is easily the best animated movie of the year. I think it should be talked about, but it won't be for a Best Picture nomination. Somehow Pixar always gets those so easily. I think this deserves one. I think if you're a Spidey-Gwen fan, you're going to love this movie, especially the first good half of the movie. You're going to love Spidey-Gwen.
Yep.
But this movie felt, and you said it, like visually, I think it's one of the most complicated animated movies I've ever seen. Visually beautiful. I saw it on the Dolby screen, beautiful.
Well, and the way they even just blurred out parts of Gwen's kitchen, for example. Like it was barely drawn on there. It felt like you were in a comic book even more than the first one.
Yep. I was surprised. Now, granted, if it was in 3D, it would probably be a sensory overload. But I was surprised there aren't like 3D screenings of this. Did that surprise you a little bit?
Was there 3D screenings of the first one? I honestly think seeing it in 3D removes what you're trying to do of making it feel like you're watching a comic book.
Good call. Good call. I like that. And then I loved that it wasn't a rehash. It is a very different style and feel of the first one. I think the best way to describe it is a different feel, like Terminator 2 and Terminator 1, or like Aliens and Alien. It's not so much a continuation feel as the Lord of the Rings movies or the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. However, I do love how essential the first one is in the telling of this story.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like
I
super essential. Like if you haven't seen the first one, they give you enough information to put it together, but you really would be confused if you haven't seen the first one.
that at first I was like, oh, all right, so we're gonna do a rehash of the first one, but it wasn't that annoying. But then again, also I was a little sad at forgot how the first one didn't bomb, but it wasn't a huge hit. So
I think it was only like 290 million or something. You said, it wasn't a bomb, but nobody thought it was this.
I'm good with them rehashing it. Just with how the box office performance did.
384 million is what it did in its first run.
Wow.
But it was a Netflix top 10 for a long time. Like a lot of people caught up to it later. I think this is gonna be $1 billion movie.
I don't know if it's gonna do that. I would love for it to do that, but here's the thing. This month, I mean, it's 1 week away from Little Mermaid. It's 2 weeks away from The Flash.
That's fair.
And 4 weeks away from Indy. So I think $1 billion is a lot.
What about Elemental? That has no momentum at all.
Does that come out this month?
Yeah, it comes out the same day as The Flash.
No,
Yeah,
Disney and
bad.
Pixar are going to have like another string of bad luck. Don't get me wrong, Elemental doesn't look bad, but oh my God, Brian, I didn't even know that. Wow.
Yep. It's that movie's going to struggle.
The other thing that made me sad was they didn't do a double feature for like fans showing the first one into the second one. I was kind of hoping they were going to do that.
They didn't, I don't think, because I mean, I saw the movie at 2 p.m. Like you're offering more showings, and I think because it's an animated film, you're getting kids in there earlier, especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
They did earlier showings, and in order to do a double feature, you'd had to start at like 11 o'clock.
That's another good point. But then again, I didn't need a refresher. I watched that movie so much.
Yeah.
So, but you brought up a good point. If you haven't seen the first one, like, yeah, they give you the refresher, but it ties into the last half of the movie deeply. And honestly, I don't know, with how much I've seen the first one, I was like, how did I not think of that? So we're going to get more into that when we get to the spoiler long, but it definitely opened my eyes when it came to the first one.
I think it's a Banksy.
You
heard that,
they
right?
kept that going.
Yeah.
I'm
man.
so glad they kept that going.
So funny. I was like the only person in my theater that caught it. I laughed so loud.
I kind of did like the Gwen Stacy laugh from the first one, like yeah, but no, you're not. I was also kind of alone on that. Oh, Brian, in your screening, did you get a poster?
I did. It's dope.
I know.
Full size poster. It's not one of them dinky little ones either.
No, I know, and it's beautiful. So for all of you who don't know, I saw it at AMC. Brian, where did you see it?
Yeah, I was in an AMC as well. I got the Gwen. My 2-year-old daughter, named after Peter Parker, is obsessed with, as she calls it, Ghosty from Spidey and His Amazing Friends.
Well, duh.
So we had to go with the Spider-Gwen bucket, and I couldn't bring myself to buy two $30 popcorn buckets. Not today, at least.
I mean, was it worth it to at least hold a lot of popcorn?
I try not to put popcorn in them because I don't want them to be gross.
Then what'd you do with it?
It's just a statue, man.
Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, so AMC came out with really beautiful posters. So now I have that. I'm going to put it up next to the one I have for the first one. And then they did just announce the pre-orders for The Art of Making of for Across the Spiderverse. I read the first one, so of course I will be getting the second one.
I want to
So-
talk details.
All right. For all of our listeners out there, thank you for listening to the non-spoiler short. Also, if you're going to go see it, I don't think this is a spoiler. There isn't a credit scene. So, but still watch Stay the Credits. A lot of people worked hard on it, and they're beautiful.
And there's some
So-
information in the middle of the credits.
That is true. All right. Well, friends, here comes the spoilers. Bryan. Attention, attention, listeners. The long has begun. Spoilers will begin raining down on your ears. You have been warned. All right. Go for it, Bryan.
I can't get over how much I love Mayday. She's incredible. Her crocheted hat that she pulls over her eyes. She was adorable. I loved Mayday. They
Now-
barely used Peter B. Parker, which really,
I know.
which I think is a stroke of genius setting up
Yeah.
Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yes. I think he'll be in the next one, but I do need to ask Daddy Bryan. Oh, no, that feels weird. Papa Bryan? No.
Father
Father
of
Bryan?
four.
No.
Father.
Sounds like I'm going to start confession soon. Padre Bryan?
That's better.
Okay, Padre Bryan. At the end, spoilers, of course. I was surprised he's bringing her with him on the last start of the new adventure, however you want to phrase it.
Yeah. But,
Bryan, would you bring your little one with you on a spider adventure?
if she had spider powers, why not? That she's adorable, man. I loved her so much. But let's jump back to the very beginning of the film. I think the first half hour takes a while. I actually really loved. I mean, my favorite character in the film probably is, outside of Mayday, probably is Gwen. I think they added a lot of dimensions to Gwen and actually seeing the story of Peter Parker a lot more detail. And I thought the Vulture from the paper universe was really funny.
Yep.
It just overall, and then how they introduced the characters of Jessica Drew and Miguel O'Hara, the way they played all of that together, and how heartbreaking Captain Stacy and Gwen, all of that was brilliantly played out. I thought it was a really well done story. It took a little time until we got to the promotion party for things to really pick up. But then when things picked up, man, like it was go time for the rest of the next 2 hours.
I think the Gwen and her dad, and then Miles and his parents, I think those storylines are what separate it from, kind of just your basic animated movie or even a superhero movie. I think it went really deep. And then when Gwen reveals herself and he then still kind of starts, or doesn't starts to read her rights to arrest her, I was just like, what?
Well, and they had to show that too, because they've hinted on multiple occasions that Miles wants to reveal who he is to his parents. And Gwen's advice is don't tell anybody. And you had to know why that was Gwen's advice. And showing it in that way was super important.
Oh my God. And we're going to get to the full circle of that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it was so good. Like, how does a person with a 40-foot wingspan sneak into an art museum? And really, he just was transported in there by the collider. And
I love that. At first, it looked like she was kind of overwhelmed, but then Gwen Stacy showed, no, I can handle my own, and she took on the Leonardo da Vinci Raven.
I thought Spider-Man 2099. They did the comic book thing from the first one where you're just putting characters, stacking comic books up together. It worked again as masterfully as it did in the first one, because they didn't go into that trope too much. I just think it's, hey, we're meeting another Spider-Man. Here's what he looks like. Like, here's kind of his name. But the inclusion of Jessica Drew is the way they worked the whole thing out, and him actually being overwhelmed and having to bring her in and kind of as his right hand. I wanted to know if she, like, I want to know one, who her husband is. She teased that. And is she going to ever have her baby?
I mean, good for her for still fighting crime and riding a motorcycle while fighting crime while still being an expectant mother. I know she did hint the husband. Apparently, he's very good looking also. So that didn't help us give any kind of insight of who he could be.
Nope. And I don't think she's married in the comics. So
I don't know. You're one of the newer Spider-Man that I loved was Pravakar, India Spider-Man.
Yep.
I'm so sorry for butchering that name out there. I don't mean to, but I loved his Spider-Man. Bryan, I have to confess something. I'm one of those people who definitely say chai tea.
I was going to ask. What was the thing they compared it to? He goes, it's like saying something else. Like, I can't remember what he says, but man, it was
I didn't
so
hear
funny.
the follow-up joke because I was too busy laughing.
Oh man, it was so funny. So funny. But we skipped by something I want to go back real quick. Actually, no, we can get to it in a minute. Yes, the India scene, the way that world was animated was really neat as well.
Yeah.
And throughout the film, if you're really watching, this is one of the films I cannot wait to pause and see everything that they're showing us. Like when they're talking about, does anybody else have a quip? And they're in Spider-Man headquarters and like there's all these like bubbles of what people are saying. There's definitions throughout the film in the corners of the screen that like they say a word and they give you the definition. I'd assume there's probably some funny jokes in there. But there was there was obviously the glimpse of Andrew Garfield. His full face was on the screen, but Tobey Maguire's face was on the screen several times. Tom Holland over the body of Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, like that was super shocking to me. Like all of that, the way they were including all the live action stuff made me super confident. And Venom, don't get me started on that. But
the convenience store lady, you didn't.
No,
okay.
That was fine, but I just don't like Venom. Like, but I was half expecting him to walk in at that moment. But
I know
all the inclusions of the live action stuff had me super confident that I was correct in my prediction that we were headed to a part 3, which was going to be live action.
I was there were several points where I'm going, they have like Donald Glover is in it. I'm like, they have too many live action cameos for Bryan not to be right.
The Donald Glover cameo, I like wanted to stand up and cheer. I was so excited to see Donald Glover because he's a massive Spider-Man fan. Like they showed him Uncle Aaron in Into the Spider-Verse is watching Community with Donald Glover on his television. Like Donald Glover is Aaron Davis in Spider-Man Homecoming. Like to see him in the Prowler get up, dude, I was so happy about that. And it was live action.
I laughed because I had just read one article where it was talking about things that the MCU has wasted, and they brought up Donald Glover as the Prowler. And then I went and saw this and I go, man, that person should have waited a hot second.
Well, yeah, that and like Donald Glover literally had like an hour because he's just like, he was filming Atlanta. They were filming in Atlanta for Homecoming. Like he literally had an hour and he wanted to be in a Spider-Man film. So I thought that was actually kind of a cool inclusion personally. But let's talk about the Venom verse and the way we got there. What do you make of the Spot?
Jason Schwartzman, I love him as an actor. He's done several voice acting gigs, so he has like a great voice for it. I think his progression
from Doofus to...
But it put you in Miles' shoes where you kind of just laughed at him like, the loaf of bread falling through him. We're not going to take it seriously. Oh, you're falling into it. So the filmmakers did a great job of just putting you actually...
Think about that animation, though, of him and how he... Like what angles they put his legs at and the loaf of bread falling through. Like some serious TLC in making that character.
I think the Spot, great backstory.
You threw a bagel at me.
I know. I laughed at that. I mean, is it the strongest? Okay, he ruined his life with the particle Accelerator. Okay, I'll go with that. I but I just like how the filmmakers had us dismiss him at first, just like the other characters did, and then just kind of seeing him go, I'm going to destroy your world. And then also, I like that they showed him still trying to figure out the spots. It hasn't been an easy time for him. And, he got bullied and picked on, and nobody really wanted to help him. So, um, I. I wasn't sure what kind of villain he was going to be from the commercial, or sorry, from the previews, but man, watch out. He's going to be pretty tough to beat in the next one.
Yeah, he's formidable, and the fact that he's a cross film villain for me, the fact that he's a 2-time villain actually gives him that much more threat. Like I don't think anybody really took him super seriously. Like I thought Miguel O'Hara was going to be like kind of the main antagonist throughout this film, and he kind of was, because we didn't spend that much time with the Spot. But every time we did, the way the film was animated with him as like a pencil drawing, and like the black outline looking like Slender Man, and then the white, like all of it was just gorgeous. Like, it was really cool. Sure, it's kind of a flimsy backstory, but it's because Miles isn't taking him seriously. Like, he had to turn to a life of crime because he can't get a job because he's what he is now. Like, just overall, like, I'm actually really excited that they're slow burning this particular character and kind of starting from square one of this villain. I think it's actually really clever. It was just all. I think he's a great villain. I'm excited to see where it goes from there. But we've got other villains that we need to worry about at the beginning of the next one.
Well, I also like that he ran out of spots.
Yeah, what dimension was that in? Well, and then that's what he's doing, is he's creating more spots. When we see him creating those spots, watching Gwen's technology replay the whole thing, and the way they animated that orange light kind of showing where everything blasted through the building. Like, just again, we'll say this a million times, beautifully animated throughout the entire thing.
But you brought up villains. Miguel, I don't know if,
Miguel tried to do exactly what Scarlet Witch did in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, just slide right into the dead person's life and just be the parent.
No.
That's what he did.
Scarlet Witch tried to possess and take over a person. Miguel tried to fill a void.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't seen that movie since opening night.
Oh my God.
I hate that movie.
Don't even get me started. I did, how you love it when I do marathons. I watched Black Panther.
I watched Men in Black the other day, by the way, just because of you.
Did you? Thank you.
Just the first one.
I went back and rewatched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Sugar water.
Because I haven't watched it since theaters. It improved somewhat, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back and watch Quantumania. That actually is getting lower for me. And then I said, you know what? Let's commit to this. Let's watch Thor and let's watch Doctor Strange. And I will say one of the most entertaining bumper stickers I saw, I think it was a couple weeks ago, was I think it verbatim said, if you think Scarlet Witch is a villain, then stay away from me. It's a very strong bumper sticker.
My problem is the people that watched Multiverse of Madness and said she wasn't a villain, because you can't do things in that movie and not be a villain. It's just, we can just pretend like that movie doesn't exist.
Well, that's like, okay, so you have three parents, Gore the God Butcher, Scarlet Witch, and Miguel O'Hara. And Miguel, like you said, wanted to fill, did I say the name wrong?
No, you said it right. I'm just picturing Miguel O'Hara as Stephen Grant from Moon Knight.
Stop it. I was worried we were going to get him live action. I was like, well, aren't you Moon Knight? So he tried to slide in there. All right. Gore the God Butcher wanted revenge for the gods not saving his daughter. And then Thor kind of saying, why don't you just wish for her to come back? Oh, why didn't I think of that? Scarlet Witch wanted to possess and take over other Scarlet Witches because her, oh man, I'm going to get slammed for this. Imaginary kids in WandaVision.
Well, this is the whole thing, is they're not imaginary in any other universe except for hers.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're getting way off topic. So anyways, villains. So I knew that the uncle kind of suspected something. And
Uncle Aaron?
when he gave him a hug and he said something about his hair.
Let's jump back a little bit. When Miles jumps into the Send Me Hominator, I can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
It said Earth 42. Did you pick up on that right then? Did you know he was going to the wrong universe? I did, and I ruined it for my wife because I said, "Oh no, Earth 42 is not Earth 1610. This is not good."
I didn't know what exactly was going to happen. I won't say I was that smart, but I said, wait, 42 was the spider.
Right.
Is what my thought was. And of course, looking back, you go, what Miguel said about how the spider was from a different dimension, wasn't supposed to be him. And since the anomaly back and all that, looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But no, at first I was thinking, wait a minute, 42's not right. Where's he going?
Right.
So I thought they were going to go a different direction. Like maybe he was going to try to get the spider to the right person or something like that. But
anyway, Uncle Aaron was suspicious. Sorry.
No, you're good. I also was like, his room looks different.
Yep.
Is what also kind of hit me.
And his mom's eyes were a different color.
How did you notice that?
Dude, this is what I do.
Bryan, what color are my eyes?
I genuinely don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, wow.
Brown?
No. Anyways.
You also weren't on a IMAX movie screen in front of me for a few hours.
Actually, I would love to see this movie on an IMAX screen.
I did. It was awesome.
It'll be worth it. Worth it. Anyways, so then when he gets outside, being like, remember the plan? You remember the plan? He's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, Miles, you did yourself in. When they were trying to set up Uncle Aaron as the Prowler, I was like, wait a minute. No, somebody else knocked him out.
Right.
Oh, it's Miles.
Right.
It's evil Miles. Doppelganger Miles. So I kind of guessed that. You definitely heard some gasps when he unmasked himself. I was just like, you didn't know that?
Yeah, I'm surprised that you should have figured that out 30 seconds earlier. But it's brilliant. Like it's the way they're doing this is the way Miguel tells Miles, hey, you're the anomaly here because this spider was a completely different dimension, which is something that the Spot had told us 2 hours prior that you never considered. Hey, like, and Miguel says, if you didn't get bit by that spider, your Spider-Man wouldn't have died. Chris Pine would still be swinging the streets.
That messed me up when he said that.
Dude, so to blame Miles basically for the death of Spider-Man, say you're the original anomaly, this is why we're not inviting you to be this part of the Spider Society. Like, all of it, what Miguel was saying made perfect sense. And then you're like, okay, well, then when you realize he's at Earth 42, there's no Spider-Man here. This city is a disaster. He's not Jefferson Davis. He's Jefferson Morales, which was new to me because his dad was Jefferson Davis. But and it's still Aaron Davis. But I mean, whatever. That doesn't really matter. But it's just the way they weave lines and like, because Miguel's right. Like, ultimately, Miguel's right. You weren't supposed to be Spider-Man here. Like, was Prowler Miles supposed to be Spider-Man in that universe? Because that's where that Spider-Man, that's where that spider is from. And then how, like, because Aaron works for Alchemex, so as the Prowler probably, and then that's how Miles becomes the Prowler. I genuinely don't know any of those answers, and I can't wait until March 29th of next year when Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out to get these answers.
That's a great fan theory.
We don't know. I mean, we don't know. Like it seems like there's a Spider-Man in every single universe, but this one doesn't have one because that spider was yanked from its dimension and bit Miles. So the question is, who would have been Spider-Man? Let's go back to the Indian Spider-Man that you were talking about.
Hang on, real quick. I did like the throwback to Miles being tied up on the punching bag, like
Yeah,
Peter
that was
B.
great.
Parker was.
That was great.
Yes.
In Aaron's apartment, same punching bag.
And then, of course, you know who's the voice of the India Spider-Man, right?
I don't know if I do.
Karan Suni from Deadpool, the taxi driver.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep. I loved his character. It did hit me after Miles saved the dad. I was like, oh, so he's like her Gwen Stacy.
Dopinder? That's amazing.
Yep, Dopinder.
I love that.
Let's see, rest of the cast. Actually, we got to talk about Bryan. We haven't mentioned Brooklyn Nine-Nine in a long time.
We haven't. It's been so long that I can't remember what button it is.
Yeah. Andy Samberg is a wonderful. Of course, I'm really upset that got spoiled. That he was the Spider-Man, but I do love what he did with his character. I'm glad it wasn't just a one-off, 1 or 2 lines. He actually had some character development.
Ben Reilly, aka the Scarlet Spider, he's a clone of Peter Parker. So he's got like this complex about him, like just everything about it. It was super funny. And then he also, Andy Samberg was the voice of the therapist. Let me guess, your uncle died or whatever happened.
Oh.
But yeah, Andy Samberg I will always let Andy Samberg be wherever he wants to be. But Ben Reilly was fun. What did you make of Daniel Kaluuya's character? And he played, what was it? Hobie, I think was his name. The British one.
Oh, yeah, the rocker.
Hobie Brown, the punk. Yeah. Spider punk.
I mean, I already know that's going to be a huge popular costume this Halloween and at the next Comic-Con convention seasons.
His distrust of the establishment made me laugh every freaking time. And it was actually really important because it's the entire reason Gwen can go where she can go.
Yes. I enjoyed this character. Cool. I will admit I may watch this movie at time with subtitles on, just so I can understand him. And then actually, Bryan, speaking of which, real quick, sidetrack, I had a couple of people ask if I thought some of the dialogue was hard to hear. Did you have any issues with the dialogue?
Especially at the beginning. Gwen was hard to understand. Like when she was on the drums, I had a little challenge at the beginning. I kind of adjusted, but it was quiet even for an IMAX screen.
Oh, yeah, but who are we talking about?
Punk rock, Spider Punk.
Hubie,
yeah,
Hubie Pies.
Hobie.
I thought it was cool. I thought the animation was great. I mean, yeah, no arguments here. I mean, Bryan, there was one Spider-Man missing that I was very sad about, especially seeing how there was over 200 Spider-Man.
There was a T-Rex.
There was a T-Rex. That was cool. There was a cat. There was a horse.
Who was missing?
Broadway Spider-Man. Turn off the dark.
PlayStation 4 Spider-Man cracked me up when he was in between all those things.
He was funny.
Did you see that was
Spider-Man.
Genki was playing Spider-Man PlayStation 4 in the dorm room when Miles comes through, like on his way to the principal's office? Yeah. Okay. So go back and watch it. Genki's playing Spider-Man 4.
I was trying to
Spider-Man PS4. It was pretty funny.
But yeah, no Broadway Spider-Man. So that kind of made me sad that they had room for over 200. Maybe I just missed him. Maybe he was in the background somewhere.
I think they said it was 290 with like 92 speaking parts or something. Like it was a lot of Spider people. I loved it. I loved everything about it. When Miles comes out attached to that one dude's back, he's like, "What? Do I got web on my face? Like, what are we doing?"
I know. And then of course, Shamik Moore and Haley Steinfeld, they show you the power of great voice acting. Their characters got to go deeper, more mature. Haley Steinfeld, like, bravo to her. I'm glad they let her characters. She got definitely more room. And the movie is how long? 2.5 hours?
220.
220. They gave Spidey Gwen tons of room. So
starting the film with her was a surprise. And I loved it. She got the first 15 minutes.
Wow.
I loved it.
Okay. it kind of bugged me how Peter died in this one. Didn't seem like the same setting from the first one.
I noticed that too. It was generic enough in the first one, but I was surprised they didn't recreate the shot to have continuity. I thought about that too. It didn't really bug me too much. She only said that he died. She didn't ever say that he'd become the lizard, even though like that is canonically correct.
True.
Yeah. So, I mean, but what do you make of kind of the biggest point in the film of canon breaking events? Like Spider-Man needs his tragedy to be Spider-Man. Like that's really what this whole thing's all about.
I thought of multiverse like, hey, this is a fixed point.
A nexus point.
Yeah, a nexus event or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then, Gwen showed, to quote Sarah Connor, your fate is what you make. God, I hope I'm quoting that right. I think I am. Where he decided not to be Captain Gwen Stacy. So you can change your fate. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about her reunion with her dad.
Ugh.
Like, legitimately pulled it off. Really well done. Like, Gwen has reason to come back. The fact that he said he quit being captain was really surprising to me. I thought that was really neat, but the way they played it out of like all police captains have to die. Like, so she's just been biding her time waiting for her dad to die this whole time.
So that hit me. And then also did Spider-Man India? Did he also know? Like, I remember when he was...
Oh, I don't think he knew.
Oh, I remember when he was doing the truck, he goes, I can do both.
I think that was the thing is I think Spider-Man has to learn that you always can't save everybody. And this Spider-Man didn't learn that lesson because everybody was saved.
Yeah. So, but that's just it. Like, was, as you said, I guess, Gwen was in a dark place, but was she in that dark of a place?
And maybe she didn't know about the whole police captain thing until she already went to the Spider Society, which she hasn't gone back to her universe like for a while. So there's still a lot to process. I can't wait to see this movie a second time. If you had to rank it, where does it rank against the first one for you?
The first one for me, like if the first one's a 10, this is like
which it probably is.
Yeah, this one's like a 9.5.
Okay. You put the first one above it, just pacing more than anything?
I think the first one I love it more. I enjoy it a lot more. I love it a lot more. This one, I want to say almost that it's I want to say almost a better movie in ways overall as far as storytelling and like meatiness to it. But I love the first one more. But like I said, it's a difference between like a 10 and a 9.5.
I think the first one is a lot easier to follow, which is surprising to say when you're talking 6 different spiders and all the universes that they come from. But it's a fairly straightforward story to follow. You know the ultimate motivation of the villain, and that's to get his wife and his son back. There's not you're not asking the audience to make too many leaps. In this one, you are asking the audience to go with you on a lot of leaps. And I'm willing to jump with it, and I think most people also will be willing to follow it. But it is a more difficult story to understand. The motivation of the villain is a little bit more difficult to understand if you're not paying attention. But overall, like I think pacing, this movie is the longest animated movie ever, and there are points where it does feel itself quite a bit, and it really takes its sweet precious time, and I'm happy it did.
So that's just it. I didn't get to a point where I felt like it dragged. I thought
the pacing felt more like a live action film because why are you going to spend the money to animate this slow of a scene when you could speed it up? And it's because
that is very well said.
You're building these character moments. You're building anticipation. You're building suspense.
All right. Well, Bryan, do you have a quick Spider-Man Rushmore?
This is on it. Far From Home,
yeah,
Spider-Verse 1 and 2, And probably Homecoming. 2 Tom Holland and 2 animated.
I'm going to go Spider-Verse, Far From Home, or sorry, No Way Home.
Did I say Far From Home? I meant No Way Home.
Yeah, I got you. No. No Way Home, Spider-Verse. This one might make mine. I'm going to put one Tobey Maguire on there.
The first one, right?
Yeah, I'm going to put the first one. I know a lot of people are going to be like, what? No, you mean the second one. No, I like the first one more.
For me, it comes down to Homecoming versus Spider-Man 1, and I like Homecoming much more than I do the first Tobey Maguire one. As a film.
Shout out to Daniel Pemberton, the composer. I think his score for this is amazing. I do enjoy his score for the first one, but this one is up there on my Rushmore of Spider-Man movie scores. So listen to it, check it out when you can. Bryan, speaking of which, I bought them. I bought tickets for Into the Spider-Verse live in concert, where they show the movie with live orchestra and DJ.
Nice.
I can't wait. Well, Bryan, I think I know we went pretty long, but I think we still need to have our Across the Spider-Verse episode to fully, properly take care of this. What do you think?
I need to go see it a couple more times for sure. Then we
Agreed.
can talk about it in more depth.
Yes. Well, that concludes this special episode of Mark and Bryan reviewing Across the Spider-Verse. Please go see it, now showing in theaters. We thank you for listening and uniting with us. Bryan, we have some more episodes coming up. I'm excited for that. And don't forget my little tease that we're going to be finding a way to unite with more fans out there. But till then, give us a rate review wherever you listen to your podcasts and keep those spidey senses tingling.
So are you like a cow or a Dalmatian?
I am the Spot.